Kevin doesn't remember becoming a car. All he knows is that he is one. A crossover, technically. Not quite an SUV, but with ample trunk space, all-wheel drive, and enough elevation to look down his nose at sedans, plebs that they are. Kevin actually doesn't have a nose, and couldn't tell you what one is. He couldn't tell you anything because he's a car. But this expression more or less captures the vague notion of pride he enjoys in the quality of his design and the broadness of his market appeal. Rain falls and washes a few smears of bird shit from his windshield, his hood, his front passenger door. The water soothes his tired frame as a good bath always does. His coat of turquoise paint will look extra glossy when the sun comes out again. Kevin is pretty vain about this too. All the other cars in his apartment parking lot are dull, boring colors. Beige, silver, white, gray. Oh, excuse him, space gray. They should be jealous of him, but they aren't. They enjoy their banal conformity. Pride, vanity, enjoyment, conformity. What are these things again? Kevin can't say. He can't speak. He shouldn't even have feelings. He's a car. How is this possible? Something isn't right. These emotions do exist in him, but they're distant. They're buried under a thick layer of the quiet, unthinking sturdiness of steel, the transparency of glass. Somewhere in that faraway pit of human emotions wells a tide of panic. This is wrong. Existence is wrong. Kevin shouldn't be a car. Can't be. How did this happen? He wasn't always a car. He knows this. He was a person, a human being. He knows what humans are. He was made for them, lives for them. Nothing makes him happier than when his owner, Naoma, comes out on the weekends and drives him. Driving to work is great too, but it's routine, expected. Kevin has touchscreen navigation, so Naoma's route to work has been etched into unfading digital memory. On the weekends, though, every drive is a surprise. Kevin gets to see new sights, to explore roads his tires have never tread upon. He shouldn't be able to see or hear because he doesn't have eyes or ears. He knows what eyes and ears are, but like noses, he can't tell you anything about them. He can't express his simple thoughts, his unquestioned knowledge. But he can see, and he can hear, and he can even smell. If Kevin could swear an oath, he'd draw a sign over himself and insist that he can taste the gravel on his tires, cross his engine and hope to die. The most blissful experience he's ever had was when Naoma parked in the lawn at a house party, and Kevin spent the night feeling one with the grass and the earth. But, again, none of this makes sense. How can he be thinking any of this? He shouldn't be a car, and certainly not a thinking one. It's against the rules. What rules? Well, the rules of the universe, obviously. People aren't cars. But Kevin is. He has been for as long as he can remember. 2 years and 67 days to be exact. The data in his GPS system tells him so. No, fuck, no! This is impossible. But it feels so right. Any thoughts of protest are whispers far away. But they are insistent. They nag at him. Kevin. Kevin got high, right? He tried some new drug. What was it? Soy. Saliva? No, that's not a drug. What is a drug? What does that word mean? What are words? Oh, none of that matters now. Naoma's here. She opens the door and sits in the driver's seat, peeling a darkened, rain-soaked strand of hair from her cheek. She tears open a pack of cigarettes, puts one in her mouth, and lights it. She grunts suddenly and drops the lighter onto the mat that protects Kevin's interior from the debris and filth of shoes. Naoma shakes paint from her hand and picks the lighter back up again, taking a long drag of the cigarette. She stretches her legs out the open door and lets the rain soak into her slippers. What's up with this? Kevin has never seen Naoma smoke before. In fact, he doesn't like it. It'll make him stink. She blows smoke out into the atmosphere and takes another drag. The silver lining here is that she left the door open. After a few minutes, she drops her cigarette onto the pavement and stamps it out. She sighs and climbs out of Kevin, swinging his door shut with her hip. Kevin allows himself some mild disappointment. He thought they were going for a drive. That's always what it means when Naoma comes. Once in a while she'd come out with Rex, and the two of them would sit in Kevin for hours, listening to music and talking. Rex would smoke pot, which Kevin didn't like, but he always did it with the window down, and that counted for something. Anyway, even on these rare occasions, they'd at least be running Kevin's engine. Not this time. What a tease. Kevin spends the rest of the night wondering about Naoma's strange behavior. He hopes she's alright. Wonder and hope are different when you're a car. They aren't encompassing the way they are for humans. They're dim, in the background, like the rest of Kevin's thoughts. Most of his perception is tied up in the immediate sensation of the rain, the breeze, the itch of rust developing on his underside. Nights are lonely for the cars in this lot. They can't speak to each other. There's no camaraderie among them, no companionship. Vehicles don't have the social instincts that humans do. They don't wish for it either. Cars only wish to be driven, or at least to be used in some way. An engine that isn't running feels like a tumor, and the longer it doesn't run, the further the cancer spreads. Once in a while, a couple will come along at night and have car sex. It's better than nothing, for the car that is. Vehicles have no conception of sexuality, so it's not like they get any kind of voyeuristic thrill from it. But it's something. It involves at minimum an opening and closing of doors, which usually turns on an interior light or two. That tinge of electricity through the circuits is like a warm match on a cold night. It's a small drop of aliveness onto a tongue that is slowly dying. Kevin has only experienced car sex once, as a car. He was still pretty new when it happened. Only a few months off the lot, about 4,000 miles on his odometer. It was Rex's birthday, and Naoma brought him in and they gave it a whirl. They didn't get very far. It was more like a wrestling match. Kevin didn't know what wrestling was, but that's what they said afterward. They mostly just giggled at how difficult the act was, logistically speaking. After about an hour of on and off attempts, interspersed with jokes and laughter, they gave up and went back into their apartment. The jostling was awkward for Kevin. The feeling of their weight shifting back and forth on his suspension was unnatural, like wearing a glove that doesn't quite fit. That's what Kevin would have compared it to when he was human. Wait, was he ever human, though? That wouldn't make sense. How could he ever have been human? Well, anyway, Naoma and Rex never tried car sex again. There was an old silver minivan across the parking lot that used to see a lot of action overnights, but Kevin hadn't seen this van for months. Probably the tenants had moved out, or maybe they crashed and died and the van got totaled. Kevin's gravest fear is to be totaled. It's the only blemish on the otherwise perfect rapture that comes from a good drive. Underneath all that highway ecstasy, a tiny voice always pokes at him. Smaller and quieter even than the vague ripples that pass for his usual thoughts, saying in not even a whisper, "She could destroy you today." Naoma comes out the next morning and cleans months of accumulated clutter and garbage from Kevin's interior. Feels good. The human Kevin would have compared it to the feeling of an overdue shower. It's a sunny morning. Naoma looks pale, unkempt. The freckles on her face are bare and noticeable. Usually they're concealed by makeup. She's dressed in baggy pajamas. She has a black trash bag that fills up in about 2 minutes, mostly with debris from Chinese restaurants. Having Chinese in the car is a weekly tradition for Naoma and Rex. Throwing the aftermath of trash onto Kevin's floor is a cherished part of that tradition. Why is she breaking it now? She opens Kevin's glove box and pulls out Scoob, Rex's favorite bowl for getting baked in the car. She turns it in bony fingers, the blackened glass pockmarked with dots of its original orange color. She lifts it up, and it almost looks like she's going to put it in her mouth, but then she tosses it in the garbage bag. Scoob in a landfill. What will Rex think? Did he get a new bowl? Even if he did, he would never let Naoma chuck Scoob so callously without a proper burial. Kevin searches her face, but there's no expression in it. Or maybe he just can't read facial expressions like he used to. That's a human thing. Naoma plops down onto Kevin's passenger seat, kicking her legs out the open door again, and lights up another cigarette. She turns and stares at the car seat strapped into Kevin's rear. Still no expression, no discernible emotion on her face. Kevin would be concerned if he was human, and he is concerned as far as an automobile can be. For him, the emotion is mechanical. Naoma's strange behavior is like a check engine light, and if Kevin could talk, he would tell her to go see a mechanic. A beam of sunlight is right in Naoma's face. She doesn't blink. It gives her hazel eyes a tinge of gold. Smoke streams out of her nostrils. Some of it wafts out the open door, but at least half of it floats toward the car seat. Kevin doesn't like that. He refuses to become some smelly car. A little clutter was one thing. At least there was a kind of sentimentality buried under the empty boxes of noodles. But the smell of smoke and decay? That's for used cars, clunkers, shitmobiles parked in dilapidated neighborhoods. Naoma shakes herself and turns her head and blows a small puff of smoke outside. Good. Maybe it was just an honest mistake. But why? What the hell is going on with her? She finishes her smoke and carries her old memories with Kevin over to the dumpsters. It's morning the day after Kevin's cleanup. Naoma comes out and straps her daughter into the car seat. Nisa is 3 years old, dressed all in pink. She clutches a filthy stuffed rabbit in her fingers and occasionally her mouth. Naoma walks around to the driver's side and gets in and puts her keys in the ignition. This is a wonderful feeling for Kevin. If he was human, he would make an innuendo out of it. Naoma turns the key and Kevin fires up. Warmth from the engine courses through his lines like a perfect mix of opiates and uppers. It's the bliss of divine love finally falling upon a lost soul. The return of feeling to paralyzed limbs. Naoma backs him out of his parking space and they get onto the road. Heavenly delight becomes euphoria as Kevin accelerates to a cruise. 30 miles per hour through the neighborhood, then 45 on the main road. All of Kevin's strange fears about his existence as a car have been blown away like stale exhaust fumes. How can anyone not want to be a car? This is how eagles must feel. Free, alive, and damn near invincible. The confining earth reduced to a blur below you. Kevin loses himself in the joy of the drive for a while, but is soon brought back to reality as Nisa and Naoma begin to talk. They've both been unusually quiet, and all this mystery and weirdness is becoming as much as a car can bear. It's worth pulling his attention away from the rapture of flight to get to the bottom of things. "Mommy," Nisa says, "why are we going to Daddy's house?" "What do you mean, why?" Naoma chuckles. "Why does he have a house?" "It's Grandma and Grandpa's house," Naoma says gently. "We've been there like a million times. Remember when we talked about this?" Nisa stares out the window for a few minutes, rabbit ears at her lips. Naoma glances at her in the rear view. "Daddy's staying with Grandma and Grandpa," Nisa says. It's half a question. "See, Stinky? Told you you'd remember." Nisa doesn't giggle at the nickname. Usually she does. Naoma leaves Kevin running in Grandma and Grandpa's driveway while she drops Nisa off inside. Another weird novelty. Kevin isn't used to idling. Naoma read somewhere that it was bad for the car in the long run. She's a good owner. She cares about Kevin. This is probably the best driveway Kevin has ever parked in. It's like a brushstroke of perfectly black paint between two lush green lawns. A driveway this smooth is heaven for your tires. For a human, Kevin would compare it to lying on a bed so soft you seem to float in it. The pillow's neither too soft nor too hard. There are beautiful flowers lining the house of relaxing, cool colors, blues and greens and lavenders. Their aroma wafts over the driveway, bathing Kevin in a homely calm. It has occurred to him occasionally that he shouldn't be able to smell anything, since he's a car. But he can never concentrate on this train of thought for very long. Rex's parents have a luxury SUV, a real big one. Kevin enjoys sitting with it. It has a sturdy presence, a well-put-together machine. Kevin prefers to hang out with high-end vehicles. He's the newest and most well-kept car in Naoma's parking lot, and he doesn't like that. Naoma had a friend in Kevin's passenger seat once, and she said, "Never be the smartest person in the room." If Kevin could talk, he would tell you that his feelings are equivalent to this. Never be the nicest car in the lot. There's nothing rational about this notion, and Kevin almost knows it. Almost, but not quite. It's actually a mistranslation of emotions from before... Before what? Oh well, it doesn't matter. Naoma comes out of the house after just a couple of minutes. Usually they stay here much longer. Kevin doesn't mind, much as he enjoys the company of the SUV. Now they get to drive again. They go down into the city and park in another familiar place. A parking lot sandwiched between a clutter of buildings. Work. Kevin doesn't know which of the 4 buildings surrounding this lot Naoma works in. Even if he knew how to read, there's no signage that would give him a clue. Kevin has heard Naoma joke with coworkers that their parking lot is in the asshole of the city. It's an apt description. All these buildings have their asses turned to the lot. Kevin sits here and stares at one of these featureless brick walls for 9 hours a day, 5 days per week. The other cars here are agreeable enough, of more or less the same quality and variety as those at Naoma's apartment, but he wouldn't choose to hang out with them if it weren't for work. They get along with each other, but keep a formal distance. Around noon, Naoma comes out with a friend and they have lunch in Kevin. They take him to a fast food place, go through the drive-thru, and then park up while they eat. Kevin loves this. New parking lots are always exciting. The scenery is different every time, and in this case, it's much more interesting than a brick wall. Now Kevin is facing a gas station, and he can see the street. A 3-lane boulevard with stoplights all along it. Watching traffic is a favorite hobby for Kevin, and he soaks it up whenever the opportunity presents itself. He spends a good while absorbed in this before his attention drifts back to Naoma and her friend. They have finished with small talk and work gossip, and for some reason, Kevin finds it vitally important to listen to what they're saying now. He doesn't know why, but their conversation feels existentially, cosmically significant for him. So it's temporary, says Naoma's friend. Her name is Shauna. Kevin sees her at least once a month. That's what we settled on. Do you want it to be temporary? Naoma takes a long, steady breath, which turns out to be a drag on another cigarette. Kevin didn't notice that she'd lit one up. She blows the smoke out the window. I don't know what I want. Well, what does he want?
He doesn't know either. That's the whole issue.
Naoma sticks her hand outside and taps some ash out of her cigarette. The wind blows bits of it into Kevin's treads.
He doesn't know who he is. He isn't about anything. It's all weed and video games and music that goes nowhere.
Shauna takes her milkshake out of Kevin's console cup holder and sips it. The shake is sweating. Kevin can feel the moisture as she slides it back into the cup holder. Does he need to be about anything? Naoma snorts.
Yes. Everyone has something. Everyone needs an about.
Who says?
No one needs to say,
Naoma says.
It just is. It's an unspoken agreement from society. You have to be about something in life.
Why?
Because!
Naoma flicks her cigarette out onto the pavement, a touch of agitation in her voice.
Because what's the point otherwise? Why deal with it? Why grind for rent? Why take shit from some boss? Why listen to political bullshit? Why have a kid? There has to be a why. There has to be something it's all about, or it isn't worth the hassle.
Damn, all right, Shauna says, nibbling on a French fry. So what's your about? Naoma sighs, deflating like a punctured tire.
I don't know about my about.
Well, isn't that, like, a problem? Naoma shrugs.
Depends what you consider problematic.
Shauna clicks her tongue. Girl, 10 seconds ago you were damn near breathing fire talking about how important it is to be about something in life. Naoma laughs.
Alright, yes, I get it. I'm ironic.
Irony ain't it. According to your own standards, you are a problem. How are you going to drop someone from your life because he doesn't have an about when you don't have an about yourself?
Nisa!
Naoma blurts quickly.
Nisa is enough of an about for both of us.
Doesn't sound like it. Nisa is an about. But what if you had never had her? What would your about have been then?
But we did have her.
Say you didn't. Shauna jiggles a fry in front of Naoma's face. See this? This is Nisa. Shauna flings the fry out Kevin's window. There she goes, gone. She was a dream, not even that. Say you'd never had her. What would you, Naoma, be all about? Naoma laughs, and then she's quiet.
Well,
she says thoughtfully, then pauses again.
Rex isn't a bad father. That's not the issue here.
I know he isn't. That's not what I asked. You're avoiding the question. Naoma sighs, and Shauna munches on the last of her fries and crinkles up the wrapper to her burger that had been resting on Kevin's dash. She looks outside and watches a seagull pecking at the fry she threw onto the pavement.
You know what it is?
Naoma finally says.
It's that he should be some kind of example. Now more than ever he needs an about. For Nisa. What is she going to learn from him? How to roll a joint? He's loving and he's generally around and available, and I get that a lot of dads aren't, and it counts for something. But it takes more than just that, doesn't it?
Naoma! Shauna squeezes her friend's face between her palms. Naoma giggles. Naoma, look at me. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're avoiding the question. What are you about? What is Nisa going to learn from you? Naoma shakes her head free from Shauna's grip.
I take care of people,
she spurts with a note of defensiveness. Damn right you do, Shauna assures her. Everyone around you is nurtured. You work at a homeless shelter, for fuck's sake.
Also, isn't that something? I have an about, and Nisa can learn something valuable from it.
Sure, but there's one person you don't take care of enough. Naoma looks at Shauna. Shauna looks back and smiles. Naoma, please look in the mirror and meet my friend. Naoma scoffs.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Shauna rolls her eyes. Yeah, you do. You just don't want to. Do you have the bag? Shauna holds up her burger wrapper and other garbage, looking for the takeout bag to put it in. Naoma puts Kevin in reverse and starts to back out.
Just throw it in the back,
she says. After work, Naoma climbs into Kevin with a strange man. His hair is so long that he sits on it. Kevin can feel it through his passenger seat cushion. It's itchy. The man's beard is long too, coming down over his gut in dirty blonde strands. Naoma reaches over him toward his seatbelt. He squints at her. She quickly pulls her arm back as the man pulls the seatbelt across his chest.
Sorry,
she says. She puts her keys in the ignition and turns Kevin on. You think I never been in a car before? The guy says. He phrases it kindly, as a genuine question.
No, I was just... I don't know, I'm just...
Naoma's face is red. She stares down into her lap. Are you sure about this? The guy asks.
Sure about what?
I mean, this. You and me sitting in this car and going somewhere. Naoma finally looks up from her lap. She puts Kevin in reverse and backs him out of her parking space.
If I wasn't sure about it, I wouldn't be doing it.
The guy laughs. Maybe some people are like that, but most aren't. Naoma puts Kevin in drive. The feeling of his gears shifting is like a good stretch or massage.
Are you sure about it? If you're uncomfortable, we don't have to go.
No, it's fine. He shrugs. I just don't get it. I have nothing to offer you. They reach the stop sign at the edge of the parking lot and Naoma brakes hard.
Who says that?
She turns on him with fierce compassion.
Who? Who told you you have nothing to offer?
The guy gestures casually at everything. The general situation.
Well, it's bullshit,
Naoma tells him.
Just because you've had a hard time doesn't mean you have nothing to offer.
The guy shrugs. All right. Naoma looks at him for a moment, then turns Kevin onto the road and accelerates.
You have plenty to offer, she says. You shouldn't believe whoever told you otherwise.
All right, the guy says. Neither of them speak for the rest of the drive. In 3 minutes and 47 seconds, they arrive at a fast food place and park by a window facing the dining room. Naoma and her new friend go inside and sit down and eat. They choose a table by the window. Kevin watches for the next 2 hours while they talk. He can't hear what they're saying, but it looks like Naoma is doing most of the talking. Naoma and her friend get back into Kevin. The guy buckles his seatbelt and says in a wearied voice, "Oh, thanks for dinner." Naoma smiles and looks at him warmly.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out and listening.
Yeah, he says.
I guess I needed it.
Naoma laughs. Yeah. They drive back to Naoma's work and park in her usual spot. The guy unbuckles his seatbelt. So when are you moving in? He asks.
Moving in?
Yeah. Sounds like you and me are going to be roommates. Naoma laughs awkwardly.
I don't follow.
You just spent all night talking about how you can't afford rent anymore. Naoma stops smiling. You got a kid and you can't afford it alone, the guy continues. And now you're alone. Naoma just looks at him. When you moving in? He asks again.
It's not...
Naoma fidgets, lacing and unlacing her fingers.
It isn't... It won't come to that.
How won't it? You said you did the math. It doesn't add up. You can't afford your own life.
Well, just for now.
Naoma stares straight out Kevin's windshield. She takes his steering wheel in her hands and squeezes it. Kevin can feel the oil on her palms. Till when? What's gonna change?
Something will work out,
Naoma says. Magically?
No!
Naoma shouts. The guy watches her without blinking. Naoma keeps squeezing Kevin's steering wheel. It would hurt if he could feel pain.
I'm sorry,
she says.
Thank you for coming out with me.
The guy looks at her for another minute and shrugs. He opens Kevin's door and climbs out. See you soon, he says. From there, Naoma and Kevin drive back to Rex's parents' house and pick up Nisa. Neither of them say anything for most of the trip home. Soft golden streaks from passing streetlights brush Naoma's face as they drive along. Nisa seems hypnotized by the pattern. She stares at her mother, at the night going by.
What's wrong, Mommy?
Naoma blinks.
Nothing, honey.
At 3:23 a.m., Naoma throws open Kevin's door and dives into the driver's seat. Her face is tear-soaked and her hair has devolved into a bed of knots. She sucks long, hard gasps of air through her nose and blows them out of her mouth, as if disgusted by the taste of it. The first snow of the year dusts the windshield. If a breeze comes, it'll be blown into nothingness. Naoma breathes clouds that waft up and dissolve against the powdered glass. She slams the door shut as hard as she can, murdering the silence of morning. She screams and pounds her fists on Kevin's dash. The fabric of reality trembles with the hit, as if some wrathful goddess behind the veil had wound up and punched her creation. Kevin feels an appropriate, almost human sense of alarm. Naoma screams again, this one longer and louder, beginning as a pained whimper low in her gut, and then winding up through her chest, rising into a shrill howl that trembles Kevin's frame. Naoma thrashes back and forth in her seat, grabbing the steering wheel and shaking it in desperate agony. Somehow her emotions have taken on cosmic proportions. Her next scream shatters Kevin's windows. Shards of his glass pepper the pavement as wisps of snow drift through the gap where the windshield was, tickling his seat cushions. Kevin feels disemboweled, but he has no time to dwell on that. The universe is quaking. Reality twists and coils as Naoma wrenches at the steering wheel, colors and sounds blurring, vibrating, melding with her tortured voice.
It wasn't supposed to be like this!
Her screams come from everywhere now. Reality flashes in and out of coherency. What images Kevin can make out are carnage and mayhem. Cars in his parking lot tossed like toys, thrown into one another, crushed under the weight of each other. Blown out tires form a funnel, a tornado throwing glass and heaps of twisted metal all over the lot and into the building. Kevin is somehow at the center of it. He's unharmed in comparison, though he does feel his parts slowly bending and coming undone, his frame crumpling under the weight of Naoma's misery. Her voice comes again, shrieking from every atom, even from Kevin himself.
It wasn't supposed to be like this!
If Kevin had lungs, he would also scream. This is the end. Not just of him, but of everything. As a car, he hasn't thought much about death. He's known only that he wants to be a functioning vehicle, that to be totaled is a thing to avoid, to fear only in his muted way. But now he feels it. He feels every emotion. This dread is suprahuman. All of Naoma's reality-warping pain is now his, and he doesn't know where it will lead. This isn't only the death of Kevin, the car, the individual. This is the death of being itself. What afterlife could survive a calamity like this? Another cosmic Naoma scream ripples through existence, mourning the life she never had. The fabric of being finally gives in, unable to withstand her throttling any longer. It comes apart in one neat, undulating motion that Kevin, whatever is left of him, compares to a zipper. That thought is the last thing to ever exist. At the end of time, there is only a strange notion, a disembodied concept, the idea that existence has been unzipped forever, and that the zipper itself has broken with it. When nothing exists, there is no time. And so Kevin, after what feels like an instant, not even that, wakes up on his bathroom floor. Bathroom? Yes, it is a bathroom! He can feel the floor tiles on his skin. Skin! He has skin! He bolts upright, running his arms, real arms, from his chest up to the top of his head, then down to his knees. He takes a fistful of greasy hair in his right hand and savors the texture of his jeans between the fingertips of his left. He's real. He's alive. He's human. For the first time in all his 30 years, Kevin cries with happiness. Those 30 years happened. He remembers. He had a childhood, teenage angst, relationships, love. He had a fiancée. They had a life, an apartment. This is it. He's in their bathroom, on the floor. Why? He stops sobbing and looks up at the counter. A glass bong is sitting on it, coated in years of blackened filth. That's right, she left him. He's losing the apartment. He has a month to pack his shit and get out. He grabs the edge of the counter and drags himself up, slowly getting his feet under him. He isn't weak or in pain. His head is just zonked, and the melodramatic gesture feels appropriate. Kevin holds the bong up to the light. He can see almost none of the light through all the tar and buildup. This bong is no stranger to strange nights. But tonight was a completely new category of weird. What the hell happened? Kevin remembers meeting his plug at a diner, as he often did. They ate pancakes together, and Kevin spent all of brunch complaining about his situation and how he didn't know what to do now. Afterward, they went out to the plug's car. Now that he thinks back on it, Kevin feels bad for that car. It looked like decay. It was a beige sedan, dented from multiple fender benders. The wheels were rimless. The driver's side door was wider than the rest of the car. Having lived as a car, Kevin shudders to imagine what it must be like to be so decrepit. The plug had opened his passenger door and dug through the glove box. He produced a small baggie. It contained a couple of tiny black nuggets, each about the size of Kevin's thumbnail. The plug slapped the baggie onto the palm of Kevin's hand. "Feast your lungs on this," he'd said, grinning mysteriously. Kevin poked at the nuggets through the plastic. They looked greasy, oily, unappetizing. "What are these, your dingleberries?" he asked. The plug frowned. "Be more respectful when you talk about Sally. She's a teacher. You are in need of education, my friend." "Who the fuck is Sally?" The plug shook his head. He looked just like an unwashed hippie, complete with bell-bottoms and a beanie, shaggy and unshaven, purple-tinted sunglasses even on a gray morning. "What did I just say about respect, Space Bro? Sally's gonna show you what to do with your life, so I don't have to listen to you bitch about it. Can't have you bringing down my vibration like this." "But what is it?" The plug's car door creaked as he swung it shut. A few flakes of rust fell by his tire. "Just smoke it." He ambled around to the other side of his car, perpetually dazed. "But what is it?" Kevin repeated. "How much do you want for it?" The discolored door of the sedan shrieked as the plug wrenched it open. He plopped onto the seat. "Just..." He batted his hands around his head, trying to shoo away the bad vibes. "Go home and smoke it. You'll learn everything you want to know and everything you don't want to know. Your shit will be figured out expeditiously." Kevin looks into the bathroom mirror. A human face looks back at him. Brown-eyed, black-haired, scruffy beard, pale to the point of sickliness. It's a baffled face, existentially dumbfounded. It is anything but educated. 2 years as a car. That was anything but expeditious. He lived those 2 years. What was he supposed to have learned? He opens the door and staggers out of the bathroom, bong in hand. He crosses the hallway to his bedroom and looks at the clock. 8:03 p.m. He had gone into the bathroom to smoke around 7:40. 2 years in 23 minutes? He shakes his head. Everything is as he'd left it. The floor is decorated with days of dirty laundry. The bed hasn't been made since she left. Everything is silent. He hears no neighbors, no activity outside, no traffic, nothing. Up in the closet, his old guitar sits in a bed of dust, strings brown and rusted out. Kevin thinks about playing it, but decides he doesn't want to get tetanus. "Wasn't supposed to be like this," he mutters. By 30, he should have been the digital age hero of folk music. He was supposed to be the Bob Dylan of the 21st century. He wanders into the living room. His controllers and gaming console sit on the TV stand, occupying the only dustless spot. The coffee table in the center of the room is littered with crumbs of weed and resin. 2 burned-out bowls lie together in the mess. 2. She'd left hers behind. He looks at the bong in his hand. "Wasn't supposed to be like this," he says again, more loudly this time. He goes into the kitchen, takes the trash can out from under the sink, and drops the bong inside. He returns to the living room and sweeps the bowls and debris off the coffee table and into the garbage. Nobody is in the parking lot when he goes out to the dumpster. The brisk air tickles his throat. A few stray snowflakes swirl in his path, the first of the year. Out of habit, he scans the lot, looking for that turquoise crossover he always admires. He's never met the neighbor who owns it. Never even seen them, come to think of it. But they must be interesting to own a vehicle like that. He looks in every direction, but he doesn't find it.